Good day, everyone. Good day, and welcome to Truth to Freedom Podcast, Real Talk for Real People. We appreciate everybody listening in today. We thank you very much. And remember, we would like you to, depending on what platform that you are on, we want you to like, we want you to download, we want you to share it, we want you to leave a rating, we want you to leave a review, however it is on the platform that you're on, because when you do that, awesome people like you will be able to get this podcast, because the more likes it gets and the more it moves around when the algorithms and stuff like that, it'll get noticed and we can get this information out to the people. So for those that have not listened, this may be their first time. This is a podcast about what's going on in the world, political, foreign, things of that nature. But this is real talk. We're not on nobody's side. This isn't a site to where we're bashing the Republicans, we're bashing the Democrats, none of that. We're getting down to the heart of what conversation should be between American people. And that's what we talk about on this podcast, because we want the truth to get out. We want people to start having real conversation and not just the rhetoric and the mob mentality that we have when it comes to stuff, especially political stuff, and how it does and how it affects the country and the citizens of this country, because that's who suffers in the long run when you get these parties going back and forth with one another and they don't solve the problem. So that's what we're here for. And so we hope that you will join in this movement and spread it all over as far as you can. So again, my name is James Parker, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Quentin Williams. How you doing, Mr. Quentin?
Doing well. How are you?
Everything is well, sir. And I'm excited, Quentin, because on this broadcast episode, we got our dear friend, Mr. Jamon Carter. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How you gentlemen doing this afternoon?
Everything's well. Everything's well. So we thought on this podcast, we would bring on Mr. Carter to get another insight and view on some of the stuff that we talk about. And this podcast, we're going to be talking pretty much about the economy and housing and things of that nature, and just kind of start a conversation to get people talking. But prior to this, we were talking about healthcare. And so we was talking about how there's a cure for cancer that Cuba has that nobody wants to go get and wants to help and everything. And so we were just talking about how they'd rather have the American people on medicine. So, but my man Jamon has something he wanted to say about that. So go ahead, Jamon.
Okay, so it starts a little off, but it's on subject just to prove. So my statement was going to be how the treatment is worth more than the cure. And the other day we had an eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I saw in the news was that America lost $700 million because of the eclipse. So out of everything they could be talking about, they were talking about how much money we lost during a natural occurrence. So if they are making such a big deal about losing $700 million for the eclipse, you know, in a situation where they have a cure, how much money they would lose. So much money, it would be such a big deal that they're losing money for a cure over a treatment. And unfortunately, you know, everything that we do is in dollars, and that's really what it boils down to in that situation, which is what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, the $700 million was lost in America due to the eclipse.
Larry dog, you know what? I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the eclipse because I wasn't going to go out there and watch it. I didn't I didn't even care. I mean, they could have blocked out the whole sun, as far as I'm concerned. It didn't affect me either way, but I had no idea that there was that kind of money involved from an eclipse.
Yeah. So, sorry. I saw the same article, and they said we lost that much money in productivity. But, you know, like you said, out of all the things to talk about, you want to highlight the fact that we quote unquote lost this amount of money, you know.
I know, that's crazy.
I have a friend that works in a manufacturing facility,
Mm-hmm.
and he called me a couple of days before and asked me what was I doing for the eclipse. I said, I might look at it or whatever. He said, no, what are you doing at work for? Because his facility shut down and had food trucks and a DJ and stuff outside for the eclipse. And I was kind of in disbelief. I didn't think anybody was going that far, but if you think about it, I know somebody personally who the entire factory was not being productive during the eclipse. So yes, a lot of people must have done it. So I don't know.
It's sad that the American people pick some of the silliest things to get excited about and will go all out and do all this, and it's crazy. But stuff that they should be focusing on, you can't even get them to get up and vote. I just can't understand it. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about different aspects of the economy and how screwed up it is and how government don't want to fix nothing because a lot of this stuff can be fixed. So, but I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Quentin because this is something that he really wanted to start hop on and get some discussion going. So won't you lead it off there, Mr. Quentin?
Okay. So I wanted to talk about inflation and specifically some of the myths surrounding inflation. How the working class people gets blamed for inflation when they handed out the COVID checks, and you hear people talk, well, somebody's got to pay for this. I mean, they put the blame on us when corporations, companies could have ate the cost and not even felt it. So that's one aspect. Then they equate inflation to wages going up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the same thing. As much money as corporations have made in the last, 30, 40 years, I don't think it's going to hurt them to take just a little bit off so people can live comfortably.
Yeah, I saw that video that you had sent me on that, and yeah, because the news they'll put out, like you said, like when it comes to that's why the raising the minimum wage was such an issue because they're saying, oh, if we raise the minimum wage, prices will go up and so forth and so on. But why, like you said, why would they go up? Because if you look at the real numbers, the businesses already inflate their prices anyway. So they're going to make a profit regardless. And so, yeah, they're going to cry because they're going to continue to inflate their prices and we end up having to pay for it. So raising the minimum wage ain't really going to affect nothing. But because people don't really do their research to really find out what's going on, they just listen to what the pundits say and then, they run with it. But you would think that if the average salary to live on is what, 42,000, something like that, I think they said, just basic living, somewhere around there. But in order to pay somebody that, depending on where they live at, if they're living somewhere where we're going to talk about a little bit about where rent is so high, you could make $80,000. But if the rent is outrageous, how can you afford to live there?
Yeah, like that article I came across and I shared to you about that ski town in Colorado where they were having trouble filling the vacancy for a job that paid $167,000 because even with that amount, that salary, people couldn't afford to live there.
Exactly.
You know what city that was?
I don't remember. Let me check.
Was it Aspen or something like that?
Let me check. But yeah, like it's insane. Like where is it that where you make $167,000 and you can't live? That's ridiculous.
But they was even talking about the inflation of real estate and how it was all man-made. I mean, it has nothing to do with the economy. It's just the fact that they have inflated everything to where now, and then after COVID, they claim that, COVID just shot everything up out the roof. and now everything is just way, way out of proportion when it comes to prices.
Yep. I heard a
One,
statistic. Go ahead.
one of the things that's been happening recently is corporations and organizations buying houses.
Mm-hmm.
And when they buy up all the homes in the area, they can make the price whatever they want, sit on it because they're a corporation or, so they're also driving the prices up because it's showing a false housing market. So what company is it? Zillow.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was 2021, 2022, where Zillow got removed from North Carolina as far as selling, being able to own homes and sell them. But until then, Zillow could come and people were like, "We'll buy your house or buy your house." They weren't people; they were like companies buying the homes, and then they drove the prices up so people couldn't afford them. People from other places are moving in for the great prices because it's so expensive to live, like you said, in a town in Colorado.
Well, yeah, because they could move down here. Well, that's yeah, because you figure like a lot of people come from New York, and it's definitely inflated up in New York. Some of the prices that they pay for rent and all that stuff is crazy. But they come down here, they think they're getting a bargain, you
Yeah.
know. But we here that live here know that this ain't no bargain. But if you come to from an area where you're used to paying twice the rate, you know, yeah, naturally when you come down this way, it looks like it's a bargain. But then at some
Yeah.
point, this is going to be, this is going to become just like where you just came from, price rise. And for them, they're so used to it, they probably ain't even going to recognize that it's going up because they're so used to paying high prices.
Yeah,
So I
that's
don't know.
it.
What else you got to add to it, Jamon? What else is going on?
Um, as far as that goes, and y'all, you hit on the minimum wage thing. I was looking for the BP statistics from 2008. That's
Mm-hmm.
when we had that like first fuel crisis. Do y'all remember that? And the
Yep.
pipeline was shut down,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
and then this was going on, this was going on. And that year, I can't remember the number. I want to say it had to be $20 billion. Like BP had the greatest profits they ever had that. And for a normal company, if you own a store and it's a hurricane and you start charging people $20 for a bottle of water, it's called what's the name of that charge? It's a charge against that. It's a charge for a small
Price
business owner, the price
is it?
gouge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's illegal to price gouge when, it's an emergency. But a big corporation raised their prices to whatever they wanted to be because of the oil speculators that speculate what the price should be. And the pipeline had nothing to do with the price because the prices really never came back down.
No, they
Um,
didn't, but they said it was.
that's right. And I was looking for the I was looking for the exact number. I didn't want to tell anybody a lie about it, but the thing with the minimum wage, a lot of people are saying that, but I was looking the the average wage or the average house price in Wade County,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this is unfair, but 1980 was like 42,000, and 2023 was 263,000.
Mm-hmm.
But the average living wage, now this is per household in Wade County, um, in is what is this? No, that's the listing. So this is just from 2017. Average house listing was 137,000 up to December of last year. Average house listing 237,000. That's from 2017. That's a 7 year difference. $100,000 difference in 7 years. Now,
Wow.
I don't really remember, and I won't tell you something wrong. When I went to get my first job, I believe the minimum wage was like six something or five something.
Mm-hmm.
And minimum wage in North Carolina is like how much now? Nine? I mean, eight something.
$725.
Okay, 725. Now we're talking about what it was in the 90s, which I'm looking right here, 1993. No, we'll go higher. We'll go to 2002. Well, 1995 average household. That's husband, wife, aunt, whoever's in the house, 47,000. 2022 average household 97,000. But the houses have tripled or quadrupled in price. The wages have only moved up 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So the cost the cost of living has went up so much, but the wages have not gone up to follow. I remember hearing about people making $20 an hour, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, hey, they really doing it. They could do a lot with $20 an hour. And then I'm seeing people that are going for $20 an hour at Chick-fil-A, and they can't, if you do the math on it, um, you can't own a home with $20 an hour.
Nope. Nope, you can't. And you would think that, yeah, because I'm thinking, yeah, because $20 an hour, you think, yeah, wow, that's pretty good. But because I remember, so I know you probably know Jamon, in Rocky Mount, you had Texify,
Yeah.
and everybody worked there. They made mad money at that place. Aunts and grandmas and uncles, everybody worked there. And because it was Texify, and then it was that pharmaceutical company Alberts off of
Yeah, average
301. And then you had Firestone and Wilson, and then you had Consolidated Diesel. You had it was
Philip
some,
Fibers,
Philip Fiber.
Burlington Industry,
Yep.
um, Marita was there.
Rita Bread. Yep.
Um, and once again, natural disaster. So you had the flood that came in, it flooded because all those was in low, they were under the flood line. All those
Mm,
plants got flooded. They never rebuilt. The industry never came back. And then that Rocky Mountain became a place of poverty. You remember they used to have the signs out that called Rocky Mountain the city on the rise?
Rise. Yep. I remember that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
remember. And it's sad
Um,
too. And but it's crazy. But somebody done spent a lot of money because down there off of Sunset by the mill,
mm-hmm.
they done spent a lot of money. I didn't even recognize it at first.
But that's what they need to do. Um, so CSX built a hub in Rocky Mount.
Okay.
North Carolina DMV moved from Raleigh to Rocky Mount. But Abbott's was Abbott's, and when they got bought by company Hospira,
Mm-hmm.
so all the people that were there for Abbott's been there 20 years. When Hospira took them over, they had been there one day. Hospira got taken over by Pfizer. So the people that have been there for Hospira for 20 years now, they've been at Hospira, been at Pfizer one day. So all their pensions and stuff disappear and it's in and companies,
Yeah.
it's nothing you can do. And Quentin, with you, I mean, in your, generation or whatever, you probably just know Rocky Mountain as being like a dangerous place to go. You know,
Yeah.
not like a place to go to like get a career and start a family and stuff like that, but that's what it used to be.
It did.
Um,
Yep.
it used to be Rocky Mountain used to have two shopping malls. It was like that. Rocky Mountain was
Oh
big enough
yeah.
for two malls. Yeah.
Yep.
And
And
then
down
one,
and downtown was thriving at one
yep,
point. And then I think that's right before and then Terrytown
yep,
mall broke it. Then a lot of the stores from downtown went to Terrytown and whatnot.
yeah.
But
And
it's
then that was underwater. One of the malls was underwater, so
you
they
ain't
couldn't
kidding.
rebuild that.
Literally, it
Yeah.
was underwater.
Yeah. I think we talked about this one time before, James, at work, is how companies will leave and they'll just leave the people high and dry.
Exactly.
And I know in Europe, and I want to say Germany specifically, um, that when a company leaves, they have to leave. They can't just leave the employees high and dry. They have to leave them something. They have to give them a job.
Mm-hmm.
So we need, of course, we need better protections for workers. But the question is, how do we do it? I think we should follow some of the other countries that are already winning, quote unquote.
Yeah, but everybody's so money power driven. They feel like they're giving up something when you talk about stuff that makes sense. Like that country you were saying about they did the experiment for the 4-day work week, and it was successful enough that they adopted it, and now they do it. Um, but here it's like they rather you work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day till you drop. It's just
Yeah,
it's just not feasible that a company would realize that it's about the workers. I don't care what they say. It's about the work. When you open up a company, you can't run it by yourself. You hire people to do the work, to do the productivity. So why in your mindset would you not try to make it an environment that motivates, encourages, and uplifts your employee to where they want to come to work and be productive? You got to make people feel like a part of something. You got to make them feel like they have an interest that what I'm doing, I'm spending my time 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day at this company. But when I come to work, they value me. They take my ideas and opinions. They treat me fair with respect and dignity. And I feel like I'm a part of this company. So I'm coming to work to do my best. But you treat them like the post office, like you're just a commodity, and the heck with you, whether you work or not, it's no big deal. And if you do work, I'm going to try to work you to death. And if you don't work, that's fine. We just let you keep doing what you want. So now you just got nothing but chaos and confusion in your workplace. And then you want to know why we can't get the mail out. I just ain't figured it out yet.
yeah,
But we're getting to a point now where I think they're starting to realize the error in their ways. There's a lot of performance punishment that goes on a lot of places. So it's a quote that says something like, if you get real good at your job,
Mm-hmm.
they'll give you something else to do, or they give you somebody else's job to do too.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that that goes on. When people are dependable, people really lean on. And as far as the other side goes, it's getting to a point where, when we were growing up, it was a point where the employer didn't need you. And we could go and get a job the very next day somewhere else, but they could get somebody to take our job the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's not like that at all. You have people with vacancies where people are running at 50% capacity, in an industry that should be flooded.
Yeah.
Um, and I know of another, a logistics company that is always in the news for not being able to deliver um, on time with their situation, and they keep raising the prices, and they have employees that'll just quit, that come in and quit. It's a generation of people where I read this the other day. This generation is the first generation, or Generation Z, the first generation that has nothing to look forward to. And so I didn't really understand it, but I had to look into it. There's a lot of truth into it, because they see that they can't make enough money to buy a house, and they can't work enough years to retire. So they have an attitude of, why even try?
yeah. And college is being as expensive as it is, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
With no guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah, yeah.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about college because they it was on the news. I think it was the Ivy League colleges. Anyway, so they're talking about how they're revamping and doing this and doing that. But how do you pitch college to a young kid, and if you tell him he has to go to this certain school, you're looking at a debt of anywhere of $80,000 to $100,000 plus, depending on what degree you're trying to get, and they push you to get a master and a minor and this and all this other stuff. So I know, Jamon, you've had conversations with some of our uh, Caucasian brothers, and I know they have a issue with paying for school. Won't you expand on that, sir?
Well, being someone who has had some of these experiences, someone who is in debt, and I'm gonna tell you like this. I have a friend whose wife is a teacher with a master's. She has like $150,000 in debt. She will never pay that off. She's a teacher. She's probably making $40,000 a year, maybe 50, with a hundred and some $1,000 of debt. So I can tell you right now, I've been paying my student loans, and I owe the exact same thing that I started with, and I've been paying it for 20 years, and I owe the exact same thing. So when I first started, when I met James, I started down there with him. Guys were telling me how stupid I was for going to college. But in our communities are different in this way. A lot of guys said, "Well, I've been working since I was 15." I knew a guy. My uncle got me a job here. My dad's friend owned this kind of business and got me started here. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
working. There's a guy who was working with us without a high school diploma, who had opportunities that we couldn't get with a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
In that aspect, our communities push going to college since the 70s, between the 70s and the early 2000s. College was the way to get out of our situations.
Mm-hmm.
But colleges, you see, they had an influx of enrollment. Enrollment went down because you have so many people, and I'm not saying this in about myself to be any kind of way, but I don't know. I'm gonna say only 10% of the people, maybe not even 10% of the people that I know with a degree are working in their field that they got a degree. The people that are working in the field that I went to college for, I'm probably making. I know I'm making more money than they're making. Even to some of my peers that on the collegiate level, I
Mm-hmm.
am making what they are making. They're at a college teaching. I could have gotten my position apparently without a high school diploma if I was in that section of people that got those opportunities young.
Right.
But I was turned down many times by places for not having enough education and see them hire people without high school diplomas. So, you know, this it's been a big shift. It's supposed to be something this year, some crazy number, 40% of companies are dropping the college requirement for positions at the jobs. And I like it. I hate it because I was part of that trap, but being a public servant, I'm very close to having my student loans taken away from being because I'm a public servant. But that's just me. I have friends that are not public servants that are going to be paying, like my friend's wife is going to be paying for the rest of her life. I mean, 20 years is a long time for the needle not to move, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And
so
think
that's the
about.
way I sit on it. Trade schools, having a good trade.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you know, James, I know you're gonna know this. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. We saw this all the time. That's what they kept doing.
Yep.
Do you remember that, Quinn? Are you too young for that?
No, I remember.
Okay. But then um the Army switched to the Army of One.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Marines have always been a few to proud Marines. Army switched from to Army of One. And when they did that, they were trying to separate. So there is something other than college people can do. So a lot of people did that. They used their GI bills to pay for their college because
Mm-hmm.
that's something I remember recruiters would come up to you and say, "Hey, You want to go to college, you want to do this. If you go to college first, you can come out and be an officer. If you go to the military first, we'll pay for your college. And some people got that, but the military enrollment is down also. I
Yeah.
think those kids are they don't I blame social media, but that's just me. But they don't have a outlook for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I know that we definitely have led them astray. And like you said, with the campaigns of, a mine is a terrible thing to waste, and everybody was pushing college like you had to go to college, or you just wasn't going to have an opportunity. And I think we need to teach our young folks to be strategic. You don't necessarily have to go to college, but if you do want to go to college, let's map it out to where you ain't got to do it and take all these loans out, because there's a lot of programs, there's a lot of internships. As a matter of fact, we was talking about this. So McDonald's, I don't know if y'all remember this. Remember McDonald's was promoting these commercials about come work for them, and you work your way up through the ranks. And then when you go to college, they'll help you with college.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend you come back, and now you're the manager. Not only that, then they're going to help you get a franchise, and it kind of just spun off from there. I ain't seen that commercial in a long time, but it's stuff like that that kids have to look for in order to advance and not be in all this debt, because it's just it's you're right. It's who That's crazy to put somebody in debt for the rest of their life, just about, because that's just a whole lot of money. And what's crazy is when I was in the Marine Corps, I met this guy. It was a brother, and he came. That's when, remember when the military was promoting college and go to school and all this other stuff, and they wanted their people to be educated. Anyway, it was during that time. He ran out of money, and he had, like, I think, a year left. He ran out of money. He was getting, smart brother. This is what he was doing. So his whole school funding was grants only. He didn't take out no loans. He was doing grants. He was finding these grants from Alaska. He was finding grants all over the place, but the money ran out. So he joined the military because they was giving people these bonuses to come in and go to school and all this other stuff. His whole sole purpose to come in was to get that money, finish his last year. He was in school to be a lawyer. I mean, not a lawyer, but a criminal justice, so he can go to law school. But he was getting his criminal justice degree. That brother, boy, they tried to screw him and mess with him, but the military at that time was pushing education, and they made sure that he went to his classes and all this other stuff. But what I'm saying, I say all of that to say that we have to teach our young folks to be strategic in how they're going to pursue a college career to keep out all this debt. And then you think about, like you said, there's people where we work at that got college degrees that never went in their field. So they don't spend all this money for a degree, and they're at where we're at. So I don't know. What do you think, Quinn?
I want to say, I do agree with you about teaching kids to be strategic. So when I was coming out of school, they were still pushing college, but they weren't really like, you pretty much had to figure all that stuff out on your own. There was like, now that I'm older and I know, if I had to do it all over again, I would get into STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. I'd be an engineer. Like, the money is in stuff like that. But when I heard the statistic that 80% of people don't even get the job that they go to college for, I was out. Like, I had made my mind up I wasn't going. So I worked for a little bit, and I knew people that were mechanics. My grandpa he worked on cars at one point. So I decided to go to community college to learn a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking and talking about like getting rid of some of your debt, going to a community college and doing a transfer program would also help you out.
It would.
So you go get, you go do you pretty much your basic classes, and then you transfer to get the rest of them. You take your core classes at whatever college you want to transfer to, and I feel like it'll probably cut your cost in half. Because right now I'm in school and my classes average at about $250 a class.
Not
Okay.
bad at all.
Yep. Yep. So see, folks, you're listening, and we're giving you life lesson plans on how you can send your kid through college debt free or minimal debt, and how it should be. And I know the subject comes up about the government paying for people to go to school. Um, at one time I was on the fence with that. I wasn't, because I guess at that time you had so many people that had took out loans, and I said, well, are they going to grandfather them in and pay them back? I don't know. But after I done thought about it and kind of really gave it some thought, why would you not help your young? You know what I'm saying? Why would you not? Because they're the
Yeah,
future. They're the ones that's going to be running things. So why would you not want to give them the best education possible? So when they come out here, now, if they want to do anything past the basics, that would be on them. But at least
Hmm.
for their first 4 years, why would you not cover
At
that?
least 2 years.
Or at least
now
2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first two. I think in a lot of problems with folks like me, where I'm from, and my background per se, we were unprepared for college. And I think a
yeah,
lot of kids, and this is unfortunate. You can't, if you're going to go to college and pay for it and expect a career, you can't follow your heart to college. You got to follow your head to college. And a lot of us go out there and we follow our heart, and our heart is something that we love, that's fun, blah blah blah. You get out, you can't get a job. But like you were saying, Quentin, I'm gonna tell you, my sister has an engineering degree, and my sister has not worked one day in engineering in her life.
yeah,
So even with an engineering degree, it don't guarantee it. So
yeah. That's the bad part too, man.
it
Is
is. Hmm.
I was also talking about community college. Um, if I'm not mistaken, now, like right out of high school, you get 2 years of community college for free.
Really?
I think it's
Yes.
some kind of things with that.
Okay.
Because a lot of high schools in North
Stipulations.
Carolina, your last 2 years in high school are count as community college credit,
Okay.
and I think that's even more impressive. Which is one of those things where opportunities that we didn't have. And you were talking about how you had to figure stuff out on your own. Imagine doing it without the internet.
Mm.
That's all absolutely true. But at the same time, I think that there's more information,
Hmm.
but you actually you had to have more know-how too. Also,
Well, I think it's a situation where we wanted to find something else. We had to find something else in life, but you didn't have enough information to know what you was getting into.
that's true.
You
Yeah.
just agreed to something and you went. My uncle told me the story. He went to North Carolina A&T. He said he was in high school. He didn't know anything about college. His father said, "Hey, you got a full scholarship in North Carolina A&T." And he was like what? He said, "You leaving? Blah blah blah." He put him on a train. He had instructions on a piece of paper on how to get from the train station to the dorm. He didn't know anybody. Didn't even know what college was. Excuse me, one of the smartest men I know. But he had even less resources. And he found his way. But he's part of that generation that when they went to college, it was something to go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, one of my friends sent me a video the other day from Virginia State University, had like a shootout. There was some shooting going on outside of the college. Um, and I never even heard about it.
Yeah.
My first day moving in to my great university, um, somebody got shot the night we was moving in,
Oh, Jesus.
and we just moved in like nothing was going on. Like we were just so used to that environment. It was no big deal for somebody to get shot on the college campus in the dorm while we were moving in. You
Yeah.
know,
Terrible.
it,
Terrible.
but we didn't know any better. Now with more technology, you know better. You know not to go in certain places at night and stuff like this. We didn't know. So you have to want it. And we wanted it because they told us we had to have it, but we didn't know why. But
Yeah.
now you can see why you need it or
Mhm.
why you don't need it. You can really tell the difference because you can see people that's really doing well for themselves. Because I remember the teachers were making $40,000 a year 25 years ago. And I remember hearing somebody say, "Oh, they a teacher. They don't make but 40." I was like, $47,000 a year. Like, they're rich. They can do whatever they want because we were poorer than that.
Yeah.
So, being a teacher would have been perfectly fine for me at that time. But I didn't have the information. I was unprepared for, to go to college and stuff like that. I had no idea people was walking around. You want a free t-shirt? Sign up for a credit card. Everybody want the t-shirts. They were getting a free food because they're broke. Get credit cards. Everybody's credit's jacked up. We were unprepared. So I think that's one of the things, being prepared. The kids now have more information to be prepared. They choose not to use it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say from my perspective, we had a lot of resources, man. I took quite a few good classes in high school. Like I took a credit class that taught us about taxes. Like I learned how to do my taxes in high school, and I've been doing them myself ever since. I took a life class that pretty much taught us about how to make like good buying purchases, and I think it was called life, and it was pretty much just like how to be a good consumer or how to be a conscious consumer or whatever. So like those classes really helped me, a lot.
Well, I'm glad to hear that y'all still had, because I thought they took all that stuff out because back when we were going to school, that was like basic classes, home economics and all that stuff. They used to pair you up with a girl and give you an egg for a baby and all this other crap, and show you how to do a checkbook, cooking classes, just like basic life skills on how to live and be efficient when you get out here, because you're gonna have to be able to take care of yourself. You got to know how to take care of yourself, how you pay bills. That being a good consumer makes sense. Not go over here and try to buy the biggest and the greatest. Um,
Yeah.
we really need to go back into investing with our kids. I don't even know, because they used to have a program. I know when I was just prior to me graduating in '82, they was coming out with these great programs where they would take you, and basically it was nursing, teacher, and something else. But if you signed up for that program, so your whole senior year, not your senior, your whole high school was nothing but like what you was doing is like core credit. There was credit classes for college. And when you got done and you graduated high school, you only had to do 2 years and you got your degree because you already did your other 2 years in high school. And basically, those three trades, they were trying to get people into nursing, they were trying to keep people to teaching, and I forget the other one. But if you passed this program and did everything, they paid for everything. The only thing you had to do was do, I think, what, 2 years, 3 years or something in that field. And everything you got was paid for. I don't know why they
What
don't still do that.
was it, cosmetology?
It might have been. I
We
don't
had
remember.
we
So
had something like that. It's like called occupational preparedness or something like that. And the people
yeah.
that took the nursing thing were like CNAs.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they were like CNAs when they left high school, so they could go and just work without going any further.
Yep.
But a lot of
So
them went to become nurses, get their RN or whatever.
so
Those are
two
good
things on
programs.
sorry. Two things I want to say. I do agree with you, Jamon, when you said they don't use their resources. They don't. Because those classes I took were electives. And we get to choose our electives. I chose that myself. I guess part of that is because my grandparents raised me. I mean, we also like, my grandfather retired from the city. He didn't make a whole lot of money. My grandmother was a housekeeper. She didn't either. They couldn't tell me nothing about college. I don't think either one of them had a high school diploma. So there was nothing they could tell me. But I signed up for those classes myself, man. Like I also took a sewing class. Um, but I was around people that had like real life skills like that though. They didn't have education, but they were smart in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
so and about the programs James was talking about. My high school, we had what was called the CMA, the City of Medicine Academy, and they were in, we were all in the same school, but if you were in the CMA, you were on a different hallway, and it was preparing you to be in the medical field. So each grade level, they all wore scrubs, but each grade level had different scrubs on. So when they left high school, I think they were already registered CNAs, like you said. But now they have their own school, which is behind Duke Regional.
Hmm. But now this is gonna sound a little sexist, right? But it's based off of facts. They do cater a little more to the females with those classes because we had a cosmetology one, we had a nursing one, but we didn't have anything geared to help men, boys transition to a career. Um, and you're telling me that, not that a man can't be a nurse because there's a lot of great nurses that are men out there. I'm not saying that, but it's not as appealing as if they had something um, that could set you make like a construction one or something, a real automotive one where you got your ASEs or something when you graduated,
Yeah,
or it's
yeah,
anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the same thing. It doesn't really translate well to young men as it does to young women.
That
Not
makes
like I
sense.
said, not to say that men don't want to be nurses or whatever. Is a really good career, make a lot of money, but it was
Spec-
you're gonna tell me
I
80-90% females.
I want to say specifically too for young black men.
Right. True.
Yeah, yeah,
And that makes sense. I mean, you want to give people options, and you will want to create something that they will gravitate to, because most ain't gonna gravitate to nursing. They're just not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, even though they can make good money, there are men in that field, but they're not going to gravitate. But like you said, automotive, they'll be there. Welding, they'll do it. But I think since we're on schools, we they failed schools. They really have, and it's gotten so bogged down with corruption, with money, and trying to get this federal money from everything. And and now everything is just is it doesn't make sense to me. If education is supposed to be the priority, they're not doing it. And so now you done splintered off all these different schools. You got charter schools, you got this school, and all the money that's supposed to be going to public schools are going to these charter schools and things of that nature that you have to sign up, do a lottery, and all this other stuff. And you're telling me I got a school right down the street, but because they're so inefficient in what they're doing, I got to take my kid all the way across town to this school in order for them to get just a basic decent education. And nobody seems to think there's nothing wrong with that. So you got all these men that was willing to storm the Capitol. They rallied to go storm the Capitol. They was upset over some BS stuff that people done told them. They had no facts to nobody had stole no election. But they believed that guy and they stormed the Capitol over some BS. People lost their lives over BS. But you can't get these men to go storm the school board to be a better get a better education for their kids. I don't understand it.
Well, they're trying, but they're trying in the wrong way because when those same people that would storm the Capitol are the ones getting education removed from the school system,
yeah,
and they want like single-sided information indoctrinated into their child's education. So a lot of those people probably homeschool their kids as well, But you hear about these places like Florida that wants to bring up like critical race theory,
Yeah.
and then they have books that for their schools that say that the slaves were happy, like the slaves were happy and they wanted to be there. Like those people that stormed the Capitol are the same people writing these books.
yeah,
It's not like they're in there and they want their child to be a doctor. Those people that were storming the Capitol, they want their children to be a business owner of some sort, like not to report to anybody. They don't want them a part of society. They want them to be a part of their own separate society.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, school has failed us. But I think partially that's the reason, or part of the reason is school is like a mini prison.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of my friends at work today about one of his children, and they have like some behavior issues, but they are really good artists. And the thing is, they're having a bad time in class, and they're not supposed to do this and that, and they can't function. But their art is so good. They weren't put on earth to sit in a classroom and listen to somebody tell you who was the 15th president. Their life purpose, or what I'm gonna say might be their life purpose, is to make this beautiful art. But they're caged up in a school that won't, there's just a prison saying you must sit here for 8 hours in that chair and then go home.
Yeah.
And they really can't control the kids like that. I know y'all saw the video of that one, Rocky Mountain, once again, James, but that substitute teacher fighting that student where
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. I
girl hit her with
remember
a
that.
phone or something. Like, that's what school is like. And so that's one of those things when in my high school, I was so unprepared, and I was unprepared for college in the way of education, but I was prepared to go to college for that person to be shot on the first day because my school was a place where you could get shot at school. So it was like we were there just trying to make it through the day. Places like where I'm from, they forgot about us. They're forgetting about Rocky Mountain. And until recently they was forgetting about Durham too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Durham, is turned into this whole thing. That's why the housing market, the housing market goes up, the education is gonna go up. Because those people who can afford those $1 million homes, they want the best education for their kids, and they're going to the school board meeting.
They're based it off property taxes.
They do, of course. But
Yeah.
but those people that can afford that puts you in that cycle. So those people gonna get the best education. The poor people gonna get the worst education because it's programs called teaching fellows.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in school, they'll pay a certain amount of your loans off, and you have to teach at a
Low
impoverished
performing.
school, low
Yeah.
performing, impoverished area. So if you're one of these people and you just go into these places, you coming to where I'm from for the time frame that they tell you that you have to be there to pay your loan off, and then you leave and you going somewhere better. And so you got a rotating door of these educators that are coming in just to pay their stuff off, and they're going to the worst places they can go, and they leave them. So it's no kind of it's no consistency with the teaching styles. They get there and they find out it's horrible there. The parents, supporting the children over the teacher saying, "Hey, your child's disruptive." Well, ain't nobody gonna tell my child not to, and stuff like that. That kind of stuff is really a problem with a low income community.
Yeah.
You never hear on it, but you don't have the school shooters in the low income communities. So it's a trade off. I
I
mean,
wanna
that's just the truth.
yeah. I wanna say
So
though, stuff like that didn't happen in a vacuum though, man. And they'll try to make I know you know that, but they'll try to make it seem like that. They'll use that to say, well, they'll use that information to defund it even more instead of putting
yeah,
more resources into it.
that's the
And
truth.
people have done whole studies on the prison to school pipeline or the school to prison pipeline.
Hmm.
But I do agree that, you know, I don't like school isn't about educating. They teach children nothing about themselves. They teach them the history they want them to know, which it doesn't help from, my what I believe, what I view, my perspective when I was going through school. Like none of that stuff. Like I was interested in history was interesting to me, science, but like everything else, man, it's useless. You don't need it. You get out of school, you graduated, but when you get to college, it's like you gotta. That's real life. Nobody tells you or prepares you for that. Like I know people that went to college, and first second semester they're changing their major.
Hmm.
So it's like that. You don't really learn anything.
Right.
I think K through 12 prepares you for a future that doesn't exist
Yeah,
A big
because
lie.
we go to school and we have it's certain things. I understand I'm a math person, okay? So math is important, but you got to know how much money you're making for the rest of your life. You need to
Mm-hmm.
know the percentage of taxes for the rest of your life. I do not need to know what Shakespeare said for any more point in my life,
yeah,
unless that was something I was going to choose to do a career with. Now, if you're going to be a writer and you need to know I don't even know why a writer would really need to know what Shakespeare did, unless like that's irrelevant to the future that they're going to have. I
yeah.
see people always talking about, I survived another day without having to tell the angle of a triangle, stuff like this, or the dimensions of a circle. And for a
Yeah.
lot of people, they don't have to do that. But in our field, a lot of times we do have to measure a triangle sometimes to try to make something work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm fine with that. But a lot of that stuff, knowing, what president, like I said, the president did this, and that person really is supposed to be out here to learn. They really into medicine, and they could be the best doctor ever. They could be the one to cure cancer. But we sitting them in this classroom, and they in there learning about Shakespeare.
Zoning out, and now somebody's gonna tell them they got ADHD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a terrible student.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think half the school is on Ritalin and all that other stuff that they pump into them kids because they think they have some kind of issue, disability, or tick, and it's not that. It's that the school is not keeping their interest. It's talking about something that they have no, like you said, they have no interest in, and so they become disruptive. They become,
yeah.
agitated
They're
because they're like,
they're
why am I
bored.
sitting here? Yeah, and bored. Yeah, why am I
Yeah,
here? I don't, like you said, I don't need to know about Shakespeare. Shakespeare ain't gonna help me do anything. But you start throwing some numbers at me, okay, now I can do this and do that. Which schools should have evolved anyway to a pattern where it conformed to the abilities of the student. You know,
Hmm.
right.
they take all these assessment tests. So why would you not design something to where you can kind of pinpoint the level of interest for each student, and then you can tailor classes to fit those, and not waste time on a lot of stuff that you like you said, if it ain't going to benefit you, like, okay, you can have a general class that kind of go over these general ideas just so you have an idea, but to actually have to sit down and read this book and then come back the next day and answer all these crazy questions, to be or not to be, what was he trying to say then? I don't know. I guess I wanted to be or I didn't want to be. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the
You're right.
Montessori schools is what is what you said. They have Montessori schools which pretty much do that. What you're talking about.
Really.
Yeah, but you got to pay for those. You got to pay for Montessori schools. Like we have one over here by my house, and we're thinking about sending our daughter to it if we stay here.
They
Well,
don't have
I'm
grade levels either, right? It's not grade levels based on age.
No, I don't think so. And I mean, I thought it was just like elementary school, but apparently it goes up, man. You can go all the way through high school in Montessori,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how it is.
well, it makes sense. I mean, you think about it. You think about training, think about all the training that you go through for like different jobs and stuff. You go through all this training, and then when you get to the job, what's the first thing that people tell you? Forget what you learned.
Yeah,
Forget what you
yeah,
learned, because that ain't what we do here. That's just book. Now we're gonna show you what you do. And so what you telling me? I wasted all my time trying to learn all that stuff, think it's gonna benefit me. Then you're telling me that forget what you learned, and this is how you do it. So
Yep.
make
it's the
make
same for school. You teach them all this stuff, and then when they get out there, it's like, well, no, you ain't gonna use that out here. I got a mind full of useless information.
yeah. They always I hear say that people say that um well, what's the guy's name? Was it Henry Ford? I always see quotes about him where he said that uh he wanted workers. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
this is a schooling system or idea that's like 100 years old or whatever. You know what I'm saying? like
Mm-hmm.
most everything else in our country. It needs to be updated. It's not because they don't want to spend the money to do it.
Well, not just that, but the truth has changed since the last time it was updated.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So it's a lot of control in there.
so then how do we fix it? How do the people rally to fix it? Because we're going to have to do something because the direction that we're going now, it's only getting worse. I
Yeah.
mean, you think about it. So we'll take the city of Raleigh. So they just had it on. They just had on TV. They just had this big meeting about downtown. One of those community, whatever you call it.
The town hall.
Thank you. So they went
Mhm.
down there, and so they rolled out this big plan how they want to revitalize downtown and bring more people downtown and all that stuff they keep talking about, and add more outside dining and all this other stuff. So, but in the meantime, before even all that, they have systematically moved all the low income poor people out of downtown Raleigh. They took away all the public housing. They took away Chavis Heights. They took away the other. I can't think of the name that was down there off of Peace Street. There was public housing down there. They tore that down and built this stuff, and then they built all this stuff up that they can't come back to. And so, we're spending all this money on all this other stuff that has nothing to do with nothing, but you don't fix the society that's supposed to live here to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got a
Yeah.
we got a serious homeless problem. And there's a
Yes.
lot of young people. We ain't talking about older people. We're talking about there's a lot. I see a lot of young people walking around downtown with a suitcase pulling behind them. And I'm just sad and just look at them. I'm like, what in the world? How in the world is somebody that young homeless? I know why they're homeless because they can't afford what's being paid, but it's like, what happened? I mean, do you not have parents? Can't nobody take you in? I don't know. I know for the adoption, not adoption, foster home kids, they age them out and they put them out in the street. It's like once they
Yeah.
age out, here's $25. Have a nice day, and you're gone.
Yeah.
And these people on the street, and they got to survive. And I think we was talking about this too, Quinn. People got to survive. All criminals ain't criminals.
Yeah.
Some people they got to do what they got to do to survive. When you start it, when your stomach's in knots because you're hungry, you're gonna do what you got to do. And then
There's
that's
a
go ahead.
sorry. There's a direct correlation with, poverty and crime.
Mhm.
So that's the whole thing about, you see these politicians talking about we need to hire more police. No, we don't. We need to put money in, and we need resources. We don't need
Yeah.
more police. We give the
All of
police. Go ahead.
what both of y'all talking about is what we started off about the corporations buying all the houses
Yeah.
and they driving the prices up, and then the people can't afford them. The people become homeless. They want police, and then as far as homeless people, you seen these like homeless deterrents,
Oh
like
yeah.
park benches that you have to pay to sit on a park bench and stuff like this. They're trying to come out with.
Oh wow, I
Yeah.
missed that one.
Hmm.
Because
Really?
they
Yeah.
primarily do them in major cities. So like you'll see them. You'll see. I've seen them in like L.A. and like New York City.
Or you know how like it's like a theater seats, how they
Mm-hmm.
have the arm rest between them. They're
Mm-hmm.
building the park benches like that so people can't lay across them. Under the overpasses, these things are like spikes, like concrete spikes, so
Mm-hmm.
people can't lay under the overpass. A lot of homeless deterrents, but they keep raising the prices up. Uh, there's a homeless shelter across from my job, and it'll be a line around the building.
Yeah.
I know. It's the one over here off of Wilmington Street. It's the men's shelter. You got to get there by a certain time. So
Hmm.
usually around, I think they got to be there by 6 or 5 something, but usually about 4:30, you'll start seeing men, walking that way, so they can get in line because that once they hit their capacity, They don't let nobody else in.
Yeah.
But
That makes me think of The Pursuit of Happiness. Well, they couldn't get
exactly.
in.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. That was that was a heartfelt movie there.
It
But
was.
that's just it. Like Quentin said, we're not focusing and spending the resources on what's going to prevent all this. There's there needs to be more focus on the people and uplifting them and cutting out a lot of this BS. Case in point, like every time we get a raise, everything else goes up. And I've yet to figure out why. Why would everything go every time, every raise we have ever gotten? Insurance, everything else goes up. Why? Why
They
would it
profit
not?
off of poverty.
Yeah, because corporations don't want to eat the cost, which is nothing.
And
They're not
so,
losing anything.
exactly. So, how do we prosper? Because we get a raise, you take it away by raising everything. So, we're really right where we were. We didn't go nowhere. We
Yeah.
got a raise, but now you just put us in a higher tax bracket. We still making the same money.
Yep.
We're just in a higher tax bracket. And
Yeah.
so, why not come up with uh, fair tax? Um, what's the thing they talking about? Hitting people.
Flat tax and
Flat rate tax.
guaranteed basic income.
Yeah, and hit these corporations with the windfall profit taxes when they overcharge and have all this stuff. I mean, people want to holler, well, we want to make the rich. No, I ain't making the rich do anything. But you can make it fair across the board that if I'm paying 10%, I'm paying 10% out of what I make. He's paying 10% out of what he makes. It's just
Yeah.
that simple. And they ain't trying to take nothing from him, and I don't want you to take nothing from me. But right now,
Yeah.
it's the have. It's right now, it's the have and the have-nots, and the people in the middle are the ones getting suffering. Because if I'm poor enough, I can get me some government checks and a EBE card or whatever the card is now, and just accept that and live like that. At least I know I'm gonna have food and my Section 8 housing will be paid for, and this is just how I'm gonna live for the rest of my life. Because if I make $1 over, guess what? I don't qualify for none of them programs, but I
Yep.
don't make enough to
Yep.
support myself. And so now what? So I'm just going to stay here, and we just created a gridlock in this system.
Yeah.
But they're going to do something soon. And it's going to come to a point, but they have to force those corporations to pay living wages because AutoZone, I was there last week, AutoZone has self-checkout.
Yeah, I saw
Now,
that.
when Dollar General got one, I was like, okay, it's getting there, you know. Then go to like Sheetz,
Mm-hmm.
well, Wawa, they have self-checkouts. Food Line and Walmart has had them, but Walmart's will be getting rid of them or something. Walmart's will be charging you for using self checkout now.
Jesus.
But AutoZone has a self checkout. You can't find a guy to stand there in AutoZone and ring out your brake cleaner. Like when it gets to that point like that, the corporations need to start thinking because that theft is going to go through the roof, which I hope it does. Just being honest, all them people self checkout, I hope theft goes through the roof. So you know you actually need a human being that's paid to be able to work there, to be able to go home somewhere to live. That's what it's going to take.
But
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
Walmart's going through. That's what
Yep.
yeah.
Walmart's going through. They remember that at one time they had that whole one side with number self checkout, but they
Yep.
said their theft rate went through the roof because you only have one person standing over there. Ain't no way they could watch all those registers. So I scan this, put this in the bag. Scan this, put this in the bag. And I walk out the door. You gonna stop me? Because I've seen people, the one old, this is the other thing. You put the oldest, decrepit guy at the door. And so you come to the door and he gets ready to say something. And you start yelling at him. He's like, he just go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I
Yeah.
mean, really? This is your security theft prevention crew? I mean, really? But you're
I
right.
heard it was against the law for them to stop you.
It is. Well, I'm gonna say I don't know if it's against the law, but I worked at Harris Teeter, and they always told us not to follow them out of the store. If we followed them out of the store, we were fired automatically. They would fire us.
So
So
you're
they
right.
shouldn't even have anybody checking receipts. I mean,
No, they shouldn't.
Yeah. I want to say too, talking about inequality. They said that this is the highest levels of inequality since the Great Depression. And that's how, and during that time, the country was so poor that the government couldn't fund social programs. So FDR went to the business community because he came from a wealthy family. So he knew all these guys anyway. And he went to him and he told him, he said, y'all got to give me some money to fund these programs for the people. Because if you don't, they're going to turn everything over. They were protesting. There was that many people in the street protesting that they were afraid that it was going to be a revolution because everybody was poor. And it's looking like it's going to be the same thing, man. You know, it's looking like, you know, you see all these protests anyway, and you see you see the consciousness growing, and you see people talking more and more about inequality and the housing market and medical expenses and everything. So I think a lot of people are starting to see that the system itself, it just doesn't work for them.
Well,
But FDR was able to, you know, calm everybody down because he gave them benefits. He gave them. That's what we got. The weekend and the 8-hour workday and Social Security and stuff like that from. Um, I mean, personally, I think we need to just start from scratch and redo the whole thing, but I don't think it's gonna help just giving programs out again.
mm-mm.
mm-mm. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I say the same thing. I think at some point, I think we just need to just start from zero. That's just like with the justice system. There's too many laws on the books because if you get a good law firm and they got enough clerks, they can research old laws that were made back in the 30s that never got pulled off the book. So they're still law. And they pull these laws out, and that's how they get a lot of their people off from something
Mm-hmm.
back in the 30s, some technical thing, and people get away with stuff. And so you got the money and they got the research, they can do it. But you would think that we would have periodical uh, points that you would kind of purge stuff to reassess where we're at and move forward. We've never done that. America never like stopped to just reassess, where are we at? What have we been doing up to this point? And how can we improve on what we're doing? We just keep coming, like you said, we just keep coming up with stuff, piling stuff on, piling on stuff. We the one thing they need to stop doing. This is Congress. When they present a bill, it need to be just what that bill is. Stop presenting a bill and then you add 100 things to it that have nothing to do with what the bill was originally about. And if you
Mm-hmm.
can get everybody to buy into it, the next thing your taxes are going up. You're trying to figure out what in the heck happened. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
back when that bill passed, they had a 5% increase on your taxes in that bill.
That happened with House Bill 2.
I was about to say that.
When everybody made it about the bathrooms and what gender can go which bathroom, but it
Mm-hmm.
also had a clause in there that your employer could fire you. So it was protection against being fired for any reason, or they can discriminate against you as your employer. So if you said I don't want uh transgender people using the bathroom, that same bill said so since I don't want that, you are welcome to discriminate against me at work and fire me for no reason. Like they put them things together. So
Yeah.
when one got passed, the other one got pushed through there. That had nothing to do with it. They do need to stop that.
To add to that, man, I was listening to a podcast one time, and the lady was talking about that. Now, I tried to research this myself, but you know how long them bills are. You
Hmm.
had to sit down and read them things. But she said that that bill started in Charlotte, and it was about raising the minimum wage. It was like about raising the wages, and then it turned into this fiasco. You know?
That's America.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's,
That's America. Because we're gonna make America great. No, I'm sorry, I ain't gonna say that.
You better give out milkshakes and chicken sandwiches.
Yeah. Wow. Well, look, we're gonna cut this because we've been going on, so we're gonna have to probably do a part 2 on this. But I want to say, Mr. Jamon, it's great having you, and we look forward to having you on quite frequently on more episodes. I think this was a great addition to our conversation, and so I appreciate you taking time out.
But thanks for inviting me. A lot of people have invited me to their podcast, but it's the first one I did, so
we appreciate it.
Oh, yes, sir. All right, brothers. Well, look. All right, people, this is it for this episode. We will probably pick this up on the next episode. But in the meantime, while you're listening to this episode, whatever platform you're on, I need you to do some things. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to share it. I need you to give it a rating. I need you to share and leave a review. Also, check us out on our YouTube channel where you can subscribe. And if you go to our community page, you can leave a comment. You can leave suggestions, or you can leave your opinion on what we talked about today on our community page. We'll see it. We'll respond to it. We want to hear your feedback. Again, this is real talk for real people. We're not trying to put one party against another. We want everybody to have a conversation and get on the same page. So check us out on our YouTube page, Truth to Freedom, and leave a response. So we appreciate that. So, all right, fellas, Mr. Carter and Mr. Quinn, I appreciate y'all so much, and I look forward to our next episode.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later.